You're Abe Froman,
That's right. I'm Abe Froman.
the sausage king of Chicago.
Yeah, that's me.
Hi there, and welcome to Baseball by Design. I am SportsLogos.net minor league baseball correspondent Paul Caputo, broadcasting live, as always, from the Sunday Helmet Hall of Fame in my basement in Fort Collins, Colorado.
And I am Dan Simon, broadcasting from the Studio Simon Stumper headquarters in Louisville, Kentucky.
Dan, hello, good morning. How are you?
Good morning to you, Paul. I am fantastic. Thank you.
I love that you're always fantastic. And that's not just your stock answer. That is how you are. I believe that is how you are. Hey, we're going to be talking about the Windy City ThunderBolts, who play in the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois. This is an independent team that's been around for about 15 years. Their logo has largely remained unchanged. Independent baseball, Dan. I'm really enjoying learning about the country through all these teams that I was not familiar with necessarily until recently. And so this is an interesting brand, largely text based, and we're going to learn something about where that nickname comes from later on in this episode.
Thunder weather events, we talked on the last Stumper about what you like to call my spreadsheet, which is technically not a spreadsheet, but there is a category in there for weather event teams. And frankly, there's not that many, but there's enough. And some of them, well, speaking of Thunderbolts, you have the Trenton Thunder, who got contracted out of minor league baseball in 2020. But let's stay positive, okay?
Let's stay positive about that. Dan, here's an interesting thought, though. The notion of Windy City, that nickname does not come from weather.
I know where it comes from.
Well, we're going to get into it in the episode. We have a couple of guests who speak to that matter. So do you want to steal their thunder,
Nope.
Dan?
Yeah, see what you did there and did very well.
But then here's the other thing. Thunderbolts, you may revisit the old spreadsheet here after this episode to see whether that truly is a weather-related theme.
I'm going to tell you right now, given their logo, yes, it's got to be.
Okay.
It's got to be. Even if that's not based on the original, even if the original derivation of the term Windy City, the nickname Windy City, is not actually because of wind, you got to make this a weather-related identity given their logo.
All right. Well, this team plays in Crestwood, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. This will be an important point of conversation later on, outside the Southside of Chicago. So, Dan, I look forward to chatting with you later on in this episode for a Studio Simon Stumper. In the meantime, we're going to go speak with Mike Vershave, who is the general manager of the team. We'll also be speaking with Jay Becker, who is the designer of the new logo, which we'll hear about later on in this episode. And my good friend, Dr. Chris Mayer, who will provide his insights on the town of Crestwood on the south side of Chicago and on his experience at a Windy City ThunderBolts doubleheader that featured some professional wrestling as well. And then, of course, Dan, you're going to be back with a Studio Simon Stumper. So guess what? We'll see you in a little bit.
I'll be back in a little bit, and I'm looking forward to stumping, not stumping you, because, again, don't want to stump you, but I'm looking forward to you correctly answering this Stumper.
Well, we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Dan, we'll hang tight. We'll see you in a little bit.
Okay.
All right, everyone, welcome to the podcast. Mike Vershave, who is the general manager for the Windy City ThunderBolts. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Good morning, Paul.
I'm very excited to be chatting with you about the Thunderbolts. This is a really fun brand. One of the things we have never talked about on Baseball by Design, doing this for more than 4 years now, we have never talked about the nickname Windy City for Chicago. I think people are surprised to learn that it's not related to actual wind. Where does the nickname Windy City come from?
Well, the history of Chicago, I believe it comes from the politicians' large speaking voices, their hot air that comes out of their mouths.
That is the origin. I always, people are always like, ah, no, it's the lake and it's it's the weather. No, it's politicians. It's those blowhards in Chicago.
There's a lot of them. I think it's funny though when visitors do come to Chicago, usually the wind does oblige to where you could say it's about the weather and the wind, and you would mostly be backed up about that as well. So
It's one of those, like any good minor league baseball logo. There's a double entendre there for sure. This is a team that has been around for a couple of decades now, right? Like this is 2.5 decades,
yeah,
1999, is that right?
very long. It was long before that, but it entered into its current form, the Frontier League, indie ball. Like they don't like to call it indie ball anymore, but indie ball back then was a little different, and so I guess the modern era of the Thunderbolts, I guess, started in the 1999 season, even though they weren't the Thunderbolts at the time.
They
So
were not the Thunderbolts at the time. The Thunderbolts era started in 2004. Do I have that right?
it did.
The logo since then, so it's been more than 20 years. The logo since then has been largely the same. There was one change made after the 2008 season where the seams on the baseball went from red to blue, just to make the color palette more consistent. But in general, the Thunderbolts logo has had the same sort of lightning-y script set against the skyline of Chicago with a baseball behind it. I want to get into the name first before we start talking too much about the logo. What does Thunderbolts mean? Why is this team called the Thunderbolts?
It's really actually a terribly boring story. When we changed from the Cook County Cheetahs to the Thunderbolts before the 2004 season, we did the team now. When I say we, it wasn't anything I had to do with. I was just a snot-nosed kid at the time. But they did one of those, fan surveys. And the first survey question was, what should be the first element, the city part, whether it would be Cook County or Crestwood or Midway, and they landed on Windy City. I'm not totally sure how the votes went down, as usually that goes down. I think the votes are the fan participation part, and sometimes I wonder if all the votes are counted in those things.
No, how dare you? How dare you, Mike, suggest that any name the team contest is anything but purely on the up and up?
Correct. So they landed on Windy City, and then the Thunderbolts part, they really were struggling. And I did so when the team went through an ownership change from the original Cheetahs ownership to the Thunderbolts in 2004. Sorry, I don't know. I guess the Cheetahs were under a little duress, and they wanted to change the name and have a fresh start. So new ownership wanted to change the name, and they had a few owners, and one of the minority owners loved Thunderbolts for some reason, and I think they just kind of retreated and said, "Okay, fine, Windy City Thunderbolts." It really isn't that great of a story. I wish it had more to it.
Well, there's a whole weather theme going on there. You've got the Windy City, and then you have Thunderbolts. So it's sort of collectively creates a certain effect.
It's a long name.
It's a mouthful, but that's all right. That's okay. It stands out. Cook County Cheetahs. Are there a lot of cheetahs in Cook County, Illinois?
There are not, but now it's weird. It started in '93 as the Will County Claws, but boy, back then it was semi-pro. Then it went to the Will County Cheetahs. They played in Romeoville. You would think if it was Cook County Cheetahs, they would just keep them with the letter C, right? It fits well, but that wasn't the case. It was actually Will County Cheetahs.
My understanding was that the Cook County Cheetahs changed their name to the Thunderbolts because cheetahs never prosper.
Ah,
Yeah, that one's for free. You can have that one, Mike, if you need to use that in the future. So, Mike, we chatted on the phone, and you revealed some historic information that I think is critically important to this conversation about the first year of the Thunderbolts.
yeah. Like I said before, when we had new ownership, they made the name change. They landed on the Windy City Thunderbolts through a dartboard, I assume. I know I was looking on the site and stuff like that. We do have some. There was 1 year of logos that probably didn't pass muster and not very good and perhaps rushed. Again, I wasn't I was on the administrative side back then, so I wouldn't have the secrets of how it all went down. But we do have a very primitive 1 year use of a logo. I'm sure it could be done a lot better now by people much younger than me. So, but they used to have a TB on the hat. It was very interesting. It was nothing like the one that they started in '05, which is the variation since '05 has really been unchanged except for that shade of blue, like you talked about.
Yeah.
Well, 2004, I think, was a time. It was a really hit and miss for minor league baseball logos, right? Like there were a couple that came out around that time. I think that's when the Montgomery Biscuits came out, right? Like there were some that really started getting us going on this renaissance of minor league baseball logos. But then, yeah, there were some that were a little clip arty, a little Microsoft painty. It's so
Well, it was just a TB with a lightning bolt underneath. It was pretty tough. It was a tough,
I'm
tough
I'm
thing.
anxious to see this. The here's your email. Checking it now. This is a real time reaction here. And it's in a Word document, no less. Oh goodness. Wow. A lot of gradient blends, a baseball that is skewed. It's an oval baseball here. And yeah, this is someone who just got their first copy of Adobe Illustrator and was like, look at all the stuff that I can do.
Yeah, it was or Mario Paint, maybe Mario
Yep,
Paint.
could have been that. Could have been that. But hey, enough about the past. At the time of this recording, we are days away from an exciting announcement from the Thunderbolts. By the time folks listen to this, you all will have unveiled some new branding. What's the thinking in your new branding?
Yeah, for the first time in 20 years, we're gonna do a massive, massive refresh. I guess rebrand's the wrong word because we are still going to be the Windy City Thunderbolts. We got purchased. Our team has a new owner from last year, and he also owns the Florence Yalls. They used to be the Florence Freedom. They did a fantastic, amazing, nationally known rebrand. I don't know if you're familiar with the Florence Yalls or their logo or even the history of that.
We have featured them on this podcast.
Yeah, so I think 20 years is a long time for a team to not change unless it's a super classic. Although I do like our word mark and it's just become, I guess anything with longevity will become a classic and traditional. But it's going to be, there was talk of us changing the name. I actually thought they would certainly change the name, the group that was doing this rebrand. But at our ballpark, and I'm not sure if you're familiar, I know a lot of fans are, what we're known for is the big power lines that are around our ballpark. Massive high tension wires surround our ballpark on the first and third base side. So you just can't get away from it. And so they really wanted to keep with that theme of power and electric. And, it's hard to get away from the Windy City Thunderbolts and then stay in that electric theme. So they decided to keep it. And so we're going to have this brand new rebrand, new logos, new colors. It will be nothing, absolutely nothing like it is currently. We're going to unveil on Thursday. So,
Well, that is super exciting. I will, of course, write that up on sportslogos.net. So if you haven't already seen it on sportslogos.net, listener, go check it out. We'll have all the information about this rebrand. Well, Mike, this has been a lot of fun. Where can folks find the Thunderbolts online and check out your new brands and probably a whole bunch of new merch?
yeah, our website is wcthunderbolts.com. Obviously, just Google Windy City Thunderbolts. I'm sure you'll find it. And you're right. We will have an amazing set of merchandise. That's kind of what we've been all working on in the background. The website's going to be amazing. Everything's going to be brand new. And so wcthunderbolts.com is the website.
Go check it out and do the same thing on social media. Search Windy City Thunderbolts. Mike, thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate your time.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Jay Becker, the founder and principal of BLDG, a creative consultancy responsible for the new Windy City Thunderbolts. You may remember Jay from our episode on the Florence Yalls. Jay, welcome back.
Thank you. Great to see you, Paul.
I am thrilled to be speaking with you again. I got to be honest, when I started the interview on the previous segment here with Mike, I did not know that the Thunderbolts were rebranding, and I just wanted to tell the story of like why this team was called what it was called, and it was a pleasant surprise to learn that they were rebranding, and they were rebranding through you all. I just real basic question here. The Thunderbolts have this decidedly more contemporary look now. Though the work that you all did really brought them into 2025 or 2026 is when they'll play in this new look.
Thank you. I'll take that as a giant compliment.
A huge compliment. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I don't like to talk bad about any logo that I talk about, but this was a brand that was in need of a refresh, and this new look that is really electric, right? No pun intended, or
The
I
whole
guess pun
purpose.
intended.
You nailed it. I mean, obviously the brand worked. If
Yeah,
you see
it
it that
did.
way,
It
then it
did.
worked. That's awesome. Well said.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this ballpark, it's got the power lines right there, and the whole sort of notion
It's the
of this.
craziest place.
How did that play into to what you were doing, right? Like there's a lot of electricity around this brand in a literal way, like visual representations of electricity. When you went into this, what were you thinking?
And just that interesting thing about, Chicago, there's, 8 teams. You know what I mean? There's a slew of independent or a slew of minor league teams, some affiliated, some not. But at the end of the day, it was like, how do we take these pieces of the community of Crestwood along with what exists at the ballpark to tell the story? And I got to start with this. So when we interviewed management, they kind of said, it's a blue collar neighborhood, hardworking, blah, blah, blah. And they said, interestingly enough, we lead with our fists. And I was like, whoa, what is that?
Yeah.
Like, tell me this story. And so if you look at like one of the secondary marks, it's like this fist with lightning bolts coming out of it.
Hmm.
And it just kind of lights up the screen of this is it. And we started to work through this whole idea of energy. And then it didn't hurt that, the power lines. I mean, the ballpark sits in that corner of 2 major power lines. And then we started digging in deep, and we started looking at what they needed going forward. And it's like, let's build new energy around what's going on. There's a lot of great things going on the south side of Chicago right now. Let's play into that, and voila, we got it. And the one thing I will say too, where we really landed is equity value found more in talking about bolts rather than Thunderbolts,
Hmm.
but team name is still Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
We love like shortening it and packing it full of power.
One of the things that I notice about both the branding that you did for the Florence Yalls and this brand is in an era where a lot of minor league baseball branding is character based or image based, illustrations. Both of those brands, the Yalls and the Bolts, so we'll call them the Bolts, basically type based. A very expressive type that sort of that evokes certain things, but no literal or illustrative representations of characters or something illustrative.
Yeah, and do you know the truth to that is because we're a major branding house. Like
Mhm.
we see brand systems, not logos, as
Mhm.
being the brand. If you look at either one, the Alls has a secondary and tertiary piece of secondary and tertiary marks and even colors. I mean, we've brought navy blue out recently, a new Kentucky-based jersey. There's so much going on. Character thing is great. That's for whomever likes that, God bless their souls. We think it needs to go further. And we think these systems need to be systems. The same way when we build a corporate identity or any type of lifestyle thing, we've worked with Nike, we've worked with Adidas. We understand how you build a system to tell a story. And we think that the stuff that we're doing is so much more encapsulating of where the brand should go, not just this quaint little crazy character. I always say when somebody comes to me and says, especially in the baseball realm, and says, we want you to do something. I said, so you don't want to go down that path of a quirky character? And they're like, absolutely not. And in fact, they're always like, no, that was 90s. Like, take me to the future, Jay. And so we're always willing to do that.
One of the typographic characters it's the main cap logo essentially. It's the TB logo. It's one character essentially that is both a T and a B at the same time. So it's a little bit of a visual tongue twister, I guess. That's a really interesting character. How much time and energy, as it were, went into creating that one character that is 2 letters at the same time?
Great question. I wish I could even give you an exact amount. We never really looked at the work we do as time-based. So it's just like whatever comes to us. I mean, we have an incredible team. We have an incredible team from the side of let's think and iterate on all of the pieces of the puzzle and see where we land. And I would look at it this way. We got to that TB in a meeting and a half.
Okay.
So if that makes sense.
Sure.
But it was like we needed something that, again, I'm going to use it packs a punch kind of a mark, and we really see that. And it was neat because it kind of lives in that Thunderbolt world and just Bolt world. I'm always stunned when people don't see that. My own wife was like, I get it, but I don't get it. And it's like T and a B. And she's like, oh, I just saw the bolt, but I do see the B. Oh, that's the T too. So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
There are two different styles of typefaces, fonts, whatever you want to call them. The bolts one has that has that energy, that lightning bolt. It's a real thick stroke with a lot of sharp points that look like they are inspired by lightning bolts. And then the other one is a little bit of a callback to the previous identity. It's the Windy City script, which is an updated version from the previous identity. That font, that typeface, has been converted into an interlocking WC logo with two very distinct fonts, typefaces. I have strong feelings about the difference between typefaces and fonts, so I keep just saying both of them. So I guess I could.
So where do you land? Do you like seeing multiple typefaces in a framework of a system?
Absolutely, because I think, I mean, my background is more in sort of like publication design or poster design, that sort of thing. And so, my feeling has always been you pair a sans serif with a serif, and that's an identity system right there. And so to see it work in the concept of a team brand here is pretty interesting, right? Like to see these two fonts.
And they're two custom pieces. I mean, that's what we're always looking for is ownability. And how do we leverage that ownability in this case to help grow Crestwood, Illinois? And how do we bring the Southside alive? But good call out, and thank you for doing that.
Well, it's what I like talking about here. And I'm not an illustrator. I'm not good at, like, if people ask me to create a logo and it needs to be a literal representation of something, I end up focusing more on type-based things. Not out of conceptual ideas or preference. It's just because I'm not good at those things, and so I sort of like focusing on type anyway.
You know how baseball goes. It's hard not to have some type of iteration of a type treatment that fits on a jersey. You know what I mean? It's great to have a physical mark, but somewhere on some jersey we've got to get Windy City. So we had to build that into the system, and kind of leverage that again, that ownability to put it out there. I've took a whole bunch of their prior merch pieces home with me. Probably the second meeting in Chicago. No, actually the third meeting in Chicago, and we've printed all over them the new brand. And like what I found is that people in the organization want those more than the new pieces, just because it's that tell me the story from past to future, and they play out really interesting, but looks totally different. I mean, when we said we're going to put this new WC on the field, everybody was like, oh, no, we're getting rid of the old one. It's like, we don't have a choice. We got to move on.
Right, right. One area where there is a connection to the old brand, and I'm interested in this because in my opinion, you subverted expectations here with the color choices. When you think of electricity,
Carhartt brown, working bands, workwear, that like, what do you call it? Like brownish gold, like that's based off of workwear, men's workwear.
Okay. But the blue, like normally I would think electricity, I would think warm colors, I would think yellow.
Yeah.
And this blue is definitely electric, right? Like it has has a visual vibrancy to it. The way it works with that neutral sort of unexpectedly in my mind creates a frequency that feels sort of electric. But I would not have expected if I had been going into a project where someone told me, create an electric feeling, I wouldn't have started with blue. And so I think that where you landed really works, but I think it does subvert the expectations to have like a sort of, a vibrant blue, and then, grays and blacks essentially, and then a more sort of neutral brown. None of those, when I say them out
even
loud,
the pale blue. I mean, and you've got a whole, we lay it on a pale blue uniform. So it's, so, that color reverberation can be toxic or can be really, really punchy and interesting. And I think we kind of landed in that punchy, interesting spot. So,
and
we'll
you
play
all
it out.
were,
We'll see how it goes.
Well, it is. I mean, it's certainly like, just looking at the images online, and I wrote this up for sportslogos.net, and we put the uniform sets in there, and I referenced one is sort of it's black with gray lightning bolts sort of sublimated across the chest and the back there. And then the sort of electric blue, the light blue
Yeah.
across the chest. It has bolts. Another one is this working man's brown that you describe. I, like that, and has a sort of Southside feeling about it with the blue
Totally.
numbers and the black text. And then the last one is all blue pants, blue jersey, black sleeves with the Windy City script, that sort of kind of serif kind of script font across the chest there. All have the same color jersey as they do pants.
Think about I think it was the early 90s Pittsburgh Pirates where everything were 4 different sets and everything alternated. Same thing here. The key for the uniforms for us always is building that system.
Yeah.
We love this idea. And in fact, somebody reminded me of this, that they used to let the pitchers decide what the combination was. I'm like, where did that start? I had never heard that. But we love these uniform systems. With the Alls, we introduced a red shirt that said Kentucky, which was the Shawnee name of the state of Kentucky in the day. And it's been a big hit. We'll do a navy blue Florence jersey this year too. We love all these alternate stuff. And at the end of the day, people love the merch. So let's give the people what they want, But I think the uniform systems are fun in the beginning just because it gives you something new to see all the time. And at the end of the day, it's for the fans, and the fans love it, and the fans love wearing it, playing with it, and seeing it.
How much, when you're rebranding a team, the Alls were the Florence Freedom, and so this was a complete, rebrand with a new name, new everything. So you basically treat it like a new team. For a team that has had this identity for a couple of decades, this nickname already, is that a different kind of challenge for you, doing a new identity based on the old name?
It wasn't. What we saw was that there really wasn't any integral story here for Thunderbolts. Like literally, I laughingly said there were 16 versions of why. You know what I mean? We couldn't get to any single one. What we did love, though, was this idea of merging the energy and the power that we saw in the people in the neighborhood. And we did an extensive group of chats with different people, and the engagements we did with the community was awesome. And what we kind of garnered from everybody we talked to is that this place is full of life. We have these great Friday nights, Saturday nights. There's people out there. The kids are having fun. It was this whole idea of energy. And once we heard that, it was like, there's never been a story put to Thunderbolts. So let's put a story to it. And that's kind of what we did. We had a whole series of names prepared. And at the end of the day, we went back to the ownership group and just said, hey, we're going to stay with Thunderbolts. We're going to lean into Bolts. And it's all about the energy, and let's make this happen. And they were like, go.
You've mentioned the South Side a couple of times. In reviewing, I like sort of reviewing the feedback that I see on social media. And, whenever there's a new brand, I'm always interested to follow, how it's received. I can say that this brand has been received well. The comments on social media have all been good, and I don't know if that's something that you track or not as a creative consultancy firm. But the one comment that I saw, and I think it's kind of funny because people get so protective of things, but people who live in the actual South Side of Chicago were reacting to this team claiming the South Side, even though they're in the suburbs. Was that part of the conversation? I grew up on Philadelphia's main line, and if I tell someone who's actually from Philadelphia that I'm from Philadelphia, they react the same way. They're like, no, you were from the posh suburbs, right? So was that part of the conversation? Like, okay, can we really claim Chicago's South Side, or is that overblown?
No, we totally can. And in fact, that was one of, and I'll tell you this too, is my kids grew up in Orland Park, which is less than probably 2 miles away from there. Yeah. I had never, in all the years we lived in different cities for a period of time. Anytime visiting them, we had never gone to this park. We had gone to, see the Sox or the Cubs, blah, 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 but it was literally less than 2 miles away. So I had a bit of understanding from their growth as children to understand the value that the South Side brings. The other thing was lived in Chicago for 5 years. So I totally understood the power that goes south, whether it be local or burbs, it didn't matter. It's still the South Side of Chicago. And they'll all still own that.
I really appreciated that, part of what you were doing with this sort of energy and grit that this brand has is representing Chicago's South Side. That's a super distinctive part of the country. There are very few places in the country that are like Chicago's South Side. Very distinct from the North Side, right? There's a real, and you mentioned, there are a lot of minor league baseball teams in and around Chicago. obviously the Cubs White Sox rivalry is a big one. You've got the Chicago Dogs, their north
North Shore.
side. Yeah, exactly. And then, if you think about, I don't know, like the
Then pretty
Schaumburg.
much everybody else is west.
Yeah, you
You
got
know,
like what, like
I
the
mean,
Schaumburg Boomers, the Joliet Slammers. So
yeah,
yeah, this brand is carving out an identity for a part of the city, not just a city, but part of the city, which must have been a consideration when you were going into this.
100%. And it's like, again, we always talk about like, what's the community story?
Yeah.
And how do we enhance the community story? Because at the end of the day, they're our fan base. We want to play to them.
Yeah.
I'll go back to, we lead with our fists, and we're an interesting lot. But the South Side is the South Side, and it's got some really great things about it. And we kind of wanted to use this brand to bring it out and use it as a way that everybody could be proud of where they are.
All right. Well, so Jay, I want to be respectful of your time and let you get out of here. I know that you've been very busy. You have a lot going on. We were talking off air. You've got a couple other brands coming. You're doing some stuff with some league-wide things, which I'm interested to hear more about.
We are actively rebranding an independent baseball league, and it's more of a look at the league and what it looks like going forward, like 10 years out, and like tell the great story, but also like give it growth opportunities. We're not just a branding firm, we're a business consultancy too, built into it. So for us, it's always about how do we help you grow? And that's what I think that's where even these other minor league baseball teams, and we're talking to quite a few of them going forward, they're all saying, how do we bring the community in? How do we tell a news story? This lovable, cute little character is great, but will it really put butts in the seats or help us grow? And I think they're finding that a lot of teams want something different.
Well, you've perhaps anticipated my last question here, which was essentially that, like where, as you're working with teams and leagues going forward, and you're sort of expanding that a little bit, where do you see the future? I get this question all the time, and so I love being able to turn it on someone else. Where do you see the future of minor league baseball branding going?
I think it grows into system-based, that are big and that tell really great stories, and you have a lot of assets that you play through. I mean, I'm looking at or talking to one client who's got one of those, cutesy 90s brands, and they're saying, "Hey, can you help us turn this into an environmental thing?" And we're like, "We're going to have to recreate a lot of pieces or a system around it." I think people just want to see more. It gives teams more opportunity for merch, and it just gives a lot more availability and growth to the brand itself. So
Fantastic.
if that makes sense.
It does. It makes total sense. Yeah, and it would be an interesting direction to see, to see minor league baseball go, right? Like, and there's 120 affiliated teams. There are 82 independent professional teams, and countless collegiate summer level teams. So there's a lot of different teams to do these explorations with, for sure. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Jay,
Great.
this has been such an interesting conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedule. I'm glad we were able to find a time to make this work. Where can people find the work that you're doing with BLDG?
Absolutely. You can find us at bldgbrands.com, and on all social handles, you can see us at BLDG Brands.
There you go. Jay, thanks so much.
Paul, thank you. It was great chatting again.
Yeah.
Looking
and we'll
forward
see
to
you
our next time.
We'll see you again soon, it sounds like. Yeah, I can't wait to have that conversation.
Sounds perfect.
Welcome back to Baseball by Design. Dr. Chris Mayer, not the kind of doctor who helps people, but a PhD, my very good friend, who has been here since the beginning. Chris, I can't believe it's the first time you've ever been on the podcast. You helped me come up with the name Baseball by Design.
I remember you took that leap of faith into podcast land. You were an early pioneer, right?
It's true. It was Mark Maron, and then me, and then Conan O'Brien.
I think I recall that. You dipped your toe into some new water. So I think that was great.
And then Jason Bateman and Sean Hayes and Will Arnett were like, "Wait a minute, we have an idea." I was like, "I already had that idea, guys."
Right. That's the thing with the great ones, though, Paul. You can't stop them. You just have to be better.
That's right, and that's how come Mark Maron left. He couldn't keep up. Mark Maron's like,
the heat. No.
He's
exactly.
like, I can't take this Baseball by Design heat. Dr. Chris, it is my absolute pleasure to have you here on the podcast, an early supporter, an early investor. One of these days, we're going to divest these stocks, and you're going to be a rich, rich man. In the meantime, though, we're here to talk about the Windy City Thunderbolts, a ballpark located in your hometown of Chicago, Illinois. That's where you grew up. You, Barack Obama, and the Pope. What do you guys have in common? White
White
Sox.
Sox. That's true. The other thing, Southside till I die.
Right.
And so technically the Ozinga Field is on the in Crestwood, Illinois.
And
In
where is
Crestwood,
that?
Illinois, it's on the south side,
Oh.
and it's home of where my brother once owned a bar called Rockney's Pub, and there's a blue collar neighborhood and some really great people around there. Ozinga is named after the famous concrete company with the red striped concrete trucks. Everybody knows that it's ubiquitous, especially as they're stuck on 294 during construction in one of the two seasons of Chicago, winter and construction.
So Ozinga is the name of the construction company, and people and locals will recognize the red striped truck. It's not something that sounds familiar to me. I've only been to Chicago a couple of times, and so none of this sounds familiar to me.
No, it's deep. It's like a deep fried corn dog of the South Side there. You have Ozinga Field, and then you've got the industrial look of these high power lines that run through Crestwood, and that inspired a graphic designer.
A graphic designer who created what, Dr. Chris?
The Thunderbolts.
The Windy City Thunderbolts. We talked a little bit on the previous segment about Chicago being called the Windy City, not because of its weather, but because of the bloviating politicians. You support this?
No, it's actually a gastritis.
No.
No, Paul, you are correct. Well, if it's not that, yes, after the Chicago fire, that we were quite proud of our new construction techniques and our ability to create skyscrapers. And we were tired of being this cow town in the middle of nowhere and second to Chicago. So we were, tooting our own horn a little bit, so as they say, and that got us the reputation for being a little bit proud of ourselves. Now, there's another one we need to talk about, though. When it comes to the Windy City, it does exist. Any of your Chicago podcast or listeners will know about the Hawk.
Oh, let's hear about this. Oh, Hawk Harrelson?
There's
different
Hawk.
Okay,
There's
all right.
Hawk. The Hawk is the wind that comes off Lake Michigan in the winter.
Oh.
And I don't care how you're dressed, that'll go down your neck and chill your spine and get you doing a little brisk little dance down the street to get out of it. It's well known to anyone who lives near the lake, the Hawk wind that comes off of Lake Michigan. It can be quite sharp.
How much of a factor is the Hawk wind in the fact that you now live in Arizona?
Well, I would say that it's a direct factor in not having any influence on it whatsoever.
So if I'm in Chicago and I'm in my home and I've put my Italian beef together with all of the appropriate peppers and au jus sauces, and I have what's a good Chicago beer that I have just poured to bring to the television set here?
That's a good one. I would say that you're going to want something like if you're pinching pennies, the Busch Light 30 pack. But if you're really looking for Chicago, there are so many good Chicago beers. I'm not as well versed. The 312 is one of the famous ones that I think your listeners might be acquainted with, and it's a good one too. But just those the old days, it would have been old style Stroh's or Schlitz.
There you go. Well, this is what I'm looking for. This is the vibe I'm looking for, because I've got my Italian beef and I've got my potato salad. And now I'm gonna say old style. That sounds like the appropriate thing. And I'm carrying my plate to the television. To which room in my house?
Well, first of all, you're carrying it on a paper plate.
Okay.
And you're going to the front room.
I'm going to the front room. It's my favorite room in all of Chicago, the front room.
The front room, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the famous ones. We don't have living rooms or family rooms. We have the front room.
Yeah, not the front room. The front room.
Well, it's from the famous bungalow, the Chicago bungalows that were built after World War II to create well, when we spread out a little bit, but basically the 2 or 3 bedroom home that many of the veterans bought after World War II on the GI Bill. Thank you, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And due to that, these small houses would be where you could have a good Irish family of 9 kids and the parents and your grandparents living there somehow. But and oftentimes the front room was off limits because that's where your mom would keep her good furniture. And when I was a boy, many of them had the plastic see-through cover on the couches that never came off.
Yeah, yeah.
Of
And like the
course,
bowl
yeah.
of butterscotch, maybe that they're all like connected to one another.
Yeah, the butterscotch. Yeah, you know about that. That's good stuff. Yeah.
Well, I had an Italian grandmother in New Jersey, so yeah, so
That's true.
I get the sense here. Dr. Chris, the reason that I asked you to be on the podcast, apart from the fact that it's just so lovely to speak with you again, we don't do that nearly enough. And hey, listeners, call your friends, call them up. You're one of the best actually at that, at just like calling out of the blue and having an hour-long conversation, just saying, how you doing? One of the times you called me up and said, hey, how you doing? You told me, I was very excited to hear this, that you were on your way to go see the Windy City Thunderbolts in person at the ballpark. And you relayed that you had a good experience there. So I wanted to touch base with you on that experience. And it seems, if I recall, there was some good extracurricular activities at the ballpark that night. It was like a theme night for like WWE or something, if I recall. I may have all of this wrong. Dr. Chris, tell me about your in-game experience at a Windy City Thunderbolts game.
Well, that's great. Thank you. When you go to the Windy City Thunderbolts, you can expect a predictably good time, as they say, the fan experience, Paul. And the fan experience. So it was June 5th, and it was a Thursday night against the Gateway Grizzlies.
Okay.
Now,
June
where are they
5th,
from, Paul?
the Gateway Grizzlies are from St. Louis, Gateway to the West.
Okay. Okay, well, there they were. So, they were competing to see who was going to be the hog butcher of the world in those days. It was Chicago and St. Louis.
Is that why the rivalry between Chicago and St. Louis exists? They were looking to see who was going to be the hog butcher of the world?
I think when we reversed the flow of the Chicago River and started sending our sewage down that way, they started bearing some sort of a grudge against us. I'm not certain why.
That's
but
where
let's
the Cubs
talk
Cardinals.
Let's get back to Thursday.
Okay.
June 5th.
Thursday, June
So
5th.
I called up my brother Pat, and he called up his friend Dan Coakley.
Okay.
And then I called my friend Dennis Ryan and Kevin Riley and Bobby Kunzman.
This is the best.
We head to the game, and what I was able to attract them, not maybe the game or whatever, but it was White Castle Wrestling Thursday. If that is not good enough, a doubleheader.
Whoa.
So between games, you've got professional wrestling that they set up in center field, and you get right up on it. And this time it featured, I've seen it a couple times.
Yeah.
This time it featured the ladies, Paul.
Wow. The lady professional wrestlers. What does White Castle have to do with it? They're just the sponsor, or are there hamburgers involved?
They're the sponsor, but they're the sliders were the late night snack of choice for many of us for many years. So, Paul, if I have not painted a picture that was warm enough, inviting enough, welcoming enough, may I suggest that you have one of the $2 retro beers?
Oh, here we go. We were talking about beers earlier. What were these beers? Was it old style Schlitz?
I think it was. Yeah, it could have been like a Hams or an old Milwaukee or something. I don't know. I don't even remember, because I went for the 350 domestics or the 450 seltzers, but I went for I think I was drinking Modelo that night. And then my brother, he's a famous coach on the Southside of women's softball from Oaklawn Community High School. He ran into one of his ex-students who was in charge of guest services, and he gave us basically the super big gulp of beers each. And so I took one foot off the base that evening. And they were also doing a pint giveaway from Lake Shoy Beverages for the first 500 fans 21 years or older. So,
and were you and Danny and Timmy and Johnny and Billy among the first 500?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Of course. We would have knocked some kids out of the way for that.
Yeah.
Besides that, let me just say this: a good caliber of baseball.
Yeah.
a competitive baseball, a really good evening, pick your own seats, basically, family fun, safe, welcoming. I mean, it was just great. It's what baseball used to be and should be. And so, if you want to go to the mall park and feel the Hoovers suck the money out of your wallet, go to Comiskey or whatever they're calling it these days. But if you want to have a good time, a guaranteed good time, and just enjoy baseball the way it should be, go see some minor league. And we're not, Paul, we're not just a one-trick pony. We
Okay.
know about our minor league, right? On the south side. We've got what other? Joliet.
The Slammers are down there now, so I don't know which are going to be south side. I don't know my like the Dogs are north side. Chicago Dogs are north side.
Joliet's south side. I mean, it's further south. That's where Rudy came from.
Oh, that's right. What about the Schaumburg Boomers? Are they're
No, that's the Burbs. That's the Burbs. They're sort of Western Burbs.
Okay.
From Chicago. But it all just, the lake is always east, and it's always to the east from wherever you're at, basically. And so south, southwest, and north.
We went to a Joliet Slammers game with Baseball Palooza. We also went to go see the South Bend Cubs in Indiana. Like, does that count as south side, or is it once you cross the border into Indiana, it doesn't really count anymore?
Well, the Irish have a place in the hearts of many Southsiders. So Notre Dame is affectionate. No, none of us could get in, but we definitely have an affinity for it. So yes, South Bend is something that we all know about, and we know it well. And the great Linebacker Lounge.
I want to get back to the ballpark experience here. You mentioned the great big power lines that you believe influenced the name of this team. Do they factor prominently, like in your view of the game? Can you feel them buzzing, or is there what is the role of those power lines?
Absolutely. You've got that commanding view of the power lines. In fact, I know that they contribute to hair loss, and I think I've been spending too much time at the ball game. But Paul, it's an amazing use of something that would be considered hostile landscape or something that wasn't attractive, and then they took it in and they embraced it like only the best designers do, and turned it into an identity. It's just a beautiful situation.
I think one of the things you see in a lot of the minor league teams around Chicago is a sort of grittier branding rather than like some of the silly whimsical branding that you see in silly is a bad word.
We won't stand for it.
It's just not, it wouldn't draw that tough South Sider like you and Joey and Billy and Tommy and Eddie and
Pat
Timmy and also
Dan
Tommy
and Bobby and Dennis and Kevin.
but
You're the best on the South Side especially if you have the one syllable word. Jack.
Yeah.
Luke. They got all these one syllable. Pat, Tim.
Yeah, but then you got to put a Y on the end of it. When we flew in for Baseball Palooza, we picked everyone up at 2 different airports because that's what Chicago does. And we went to Giordano's Pizza right away. Did we make an okay choice?
It's not a neighborhood place. I mean, it's one of those that, it's you can go and get those Giordano's here in Phoenix, Arizona. So that's just a measure of their success. And they do have a delicious pizza.
Yeah.
In fact, I had I don't know how you're going to describe it, but it had Italian beef pizza.
Wow.
From Giordano's this year, and it was amazing. It was fantastic. And then they gave you, and we call it jardiniere, which is that olive salad, that olive pepper salad.
Absolutely, it's delicious
in the oil, and it's delicious.
Yeah.
And so, yes, that was. I think you can't really go wrong with pizza, can you?
You really can't. And I'll also say that, and this is higher praise than it may sound like, because you know that I'm originally from the Philadelphia area. I think Chicago is the second best sandwich city in the United States of America.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do know that if you open up the refrigerator, the fridge of most people I know, it'll be stocked with condiments for their sandwiches.
Yes.
It'll have all kinds of sauces and, mustards and things to put on that sandwich, peppers and other things.
I can only assume that the only reason I don't have a Windy City ThunderBolts ice cream helmet in my significant collection of ice cream helmets is that they didn't exist, that they were not on sale there, which would not be unusual at the independent level of baseball. But I'd be heartbroken to learn that they had them there and you did not bring me one. I'm just going to assume for our friendship that they didn't have them.
Well, you weren't answering my calls at that time, Paul. So.
Dr. Chris,
you let that one text hang out there for so long.
I left you on red for so long, Dr.
You
Chris.
ghosted
I apologize.
me. What was I to do? No, I don't like ice cream when I'm drinking beer. Or birthday cake.
Yeah, the sweet and the beer. I get it.
I think your listeners are gonna know what I'm talking about.
I think they probably will. Hey, is there anything I haven't asked you about the ballpark experience, about the brand that you like?
I just want to say again that I think that is one of, like, when you talk about those beer prices, and I think the ticket prices were $10 or $12, that you could take your whole family there. And where can you even do that anymore? And to get pro wrestling, and we're talking about really good baby faces and heels. And my friend Kevin is my friend Kevin with one of the giant White Castles wrestling championship belts.
Yeah.
And then I have a wonderful picture of one of the ladies on the top rope with the high power lines behind her. And so in the background, so it really just, those snapshot moments that I sometimes what I call the kaleidoscopic lucidity that occurs while I'm taking in some adult beverages.
A true slice of Americana. It sounds
Yes.
amazing. And it sounds like the wrestling made as much of an impression as the baseball did.
Well, I'll be honest about something. When we were little, my dad would take us to the Brewers or take us to the White Sox or something, and I would just watch the people, and I loved all the pomp and circumstance that was happening. And my brother was literally filling out the scorecard, play-by-play, and things like that. So Pat was the true devotee, but I loved nothing better than going to Old Comiskey.
The ballpark experience. And that's one of the great things about minor league baseball. It's the ballpark experience. Dr. Chris Mayer, this has been so much fun. So great to catch up with you and to hear about this amazing ballpark experience. I'm so glad we finally had you on the Baseball by Design podcast.
Thank you, Paul.
You've been one of the biggest supporters from the very beginning.
That's till this day.
All right, everyone, welcome back. My very good friend Dan Simon has been hanging out through all of that silliness, waiting patiently to bring a Studio Simon stumper. Dan, the founder and principal of Studio Simon, the Louisville-based design firm responsible for so many great logos in minor league baseball. Dan, how you been?
I'm still as fantastic as I was when you spoke with me an hour ago, let's say.
Okay, wow. This we've learned a lot about the Windy City and Thunderbolts as it pertains to this town of Crestwood, Illinois, just outside the south side of Chicago. And now you're going to bring us a Studio Simon stumper that relates in some way.
Yes, I am, and here it is. So we've got the Windy City Thunderbolts. They have a something city geographic designation, meaning something with the word city following it. And they have a weather-themed team name.
May I throw this out there too? One of the things that I think about a lot now since your Studio Simon stumper on this subject several episodes ago, one word, 2 capital letters in Thunderbolts. And every time I talk to a team now we have an episode coming up in the not too distant future on the Victoria Harbor Cats, who are also one word, 2 capital letters. You did a stumper for us on the formation of minor league baseball team names, where it was determined by your spreadsheet that the most common formation of 2-word names is not to mash them together, but rather to actually have 2 words. I think about that all the time now because of your spreadsheet.
Well, and as you mentioned again on a previous episode, prior to this one, we'll be talking more about that spreadsheet at a later date.
That's going to be our New Year's Eve special.
Okay. So again, just to repeat, a something city geographic designation and a weather-themed team name. So
Okay.
our Studio Simon stumper today asks, which of these something city geographic designation with weather-themed team names is also an independent minor league baseball club. So 2 are made-up names.
Okay. Oh, this is
So
going to be fun.
Okay. Is it A, the Garden City Wind, B, the River City Twisters, or C, the Granite City Blizzard?
I thought I was going to recognize it.
Garden City Wind,
Yeah.
River City Twisters, or Granite City Blizzard?
Garden City Wind sounds more like a medical condition than it does a baseball team. So I'm going to discount that one. The only sussing, it's been a while, Dan, since we've talked about sussing. The only sussing that I can do is I feel like River City is the more common something city combination there. So I think Garden City and Granite City Blizzard would be a pretty badass minor league baseball team name, and I do like that. But the only not recognizing, not even like a ping of familiarity on any of those, and maybe I'm swayed by the fact that I have been to a River City Rascals game, the defunct River City Rascals, the River City Twisters. So if we're going to say that River City is probably St. Louis, and they're in the Midwest where you might be likely to see Twisters, I don't know if I'm oversussing or undersussing. I discounted Garden City Wind right away, so it's probably that one, but I'm going to say River City Twisters.
If only you had listened to yourself.
I did listen to myself. I said River City Twisters.
No, but you said because you immediately discounted Garden City Wind, it's probably that one. And then if you had gone with that, you would have been correct.
I should have done the George Costanza do the opposite thing.
Right. Here's what I was hoping here.
All right.
I was hoping because of this podcast, not just because you're a fan, but because of this podcast, you would have heard of every single team out there. And even though I'm going to have to admit, I had never heard of the Garden City Wind until I put together the oft-mentioned spreadsheet. I'm sorry, Garden City Wind. Maybe you're going to have them on the podcast to give them some props.
Yeah.
They play in the Pecos League. They are in Garden City, Kansas. Now, here's the thing. The other 2 names, the made-up names, are city nicknames. For instance, River City, you mentioned St. Louis. That's one of the cities' nickname, River City.
Yeah.
Louisville is one of their nicknames is the River City. Richmond, Virginia, where you went to college, is nicknamed the River City. Also, Granite City, that's the nickname. If not, by the way, there are even more cities. If you're on a river, one of your nicknames is likely going to be River City.
Right.
St. Cloud, Minnesota is nicknamed Granite City. That's why I named it the Blizzard, Minnesota. It's cold up there.
I was thinking something New Hampshire for Granite City.
Now I assumed that Garden City was a nickname, but it's not. Garden City is the name of a city in Kansas. So
it's actually called Garden City.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I heard Garden and I just assumed New Jersey because New Jersey is the Garden State. And so I thought maybe there would be a Garden City in the Garden State. It never occurred to me that was actually called Garden City. But I discounted it right away because it did not seem like a great name for a minor league baseball team. Garden City Wind. What did I say? It sounded more like a medical condition. So my apologies to the Garden City Wind. I may have to reach out to them and have them on the podcast as an act of reconciliation. But the River City Twisters, that'd be good. And Granite City Blizzard, let's get on that. Both of those would be great names. Yeah, so you're writing it down, making notes.
I actually do have to make a note about something, but that's not good podcast content. So let's say our goodbyes till next time.
Okay. Dan clearly has to go. Dan drank too much water. Got to get out of here. We'll see you next week, Dan.
See you then.